9 goals scored. 9-2 goal difference. Germany are flying. Florian Wirtz is dismantling defenses in ways that seem physically unfair. Musiala is doing things on a football pitch that you'd pause on a match thread just to make sure your eyes aren't lying. The group stage is sorted. The nation is finally breathing again after 2 catastrophic World Cup group stage exits in a row. That's Statement A. Statement B. Germany are walking into the knockout rounds carrying the exact same structural flaw that knocked them out of Euro 2024. On their own soil, in their own stadium, in front of their own fans. Both of those things are true at the same time. And if you can't explain how, you don't actually know what kind of team Germany are at this tournament. Today we fix that. Here's the deal. Everyone's looking at that 9-2 goal difference and calling Germany back. And in some ways they're right. The creative talent is real. The system works. Until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, there is a 40-yard corridor behind 2 center backs with nobody in it. And a Kylian Mbappe-shaped problem waiting at the other end. This video is about that corridor. We're going to walk through exactly where the flaw is, who already proved it exists, and who at this World Cup has the specific weapons to run the same exploit in the knockout rounds. Before we do, hit like because the algorithm needs to see that this isn't just highlights content. Subscribe. We're covering every major team at this World Cup, and you do not want to be 4 videos behind. Send this to the friend who's already penciling Germany into the final. They need the counter-argument. One more thing, the fix is obvious. It just requires one uncomfortable decision. Let's build to it. Let's be honest about what Germany actually have, because the paradox only works if the first half of it is real. Florian Wirtz and Jamal Musiala are, without exaggeration, the most technically gifted creative pair at this tournament. The ability to receive under pressure, spin out of contact, eliminate defenders in tight spaces, create without crossing. Both of them do that at a level almost nobody at this World Cup can match. When Germany are pressing high and the ball is moving through those two, they are genuinely exciting. Not exciting for a German team, actually exciting. People are sending you clips on Instagram exciting. And I'll say it directly, to find a creative axis this technically loaded at a major tournament, you have to go back to Zidane and Ronaldinho at their absolute peak. That is not a take I'm making casually. That's what the tape says. Joshua Kimmich as the single-holding midfielder is the structural anchor. His positional intelligence, reading the second phase, cutting passing lanes, recycling under pressure, is a big reason the system doesn't fall apart more often. The 4-2-3-1 nominally has 2 midfielders sitting. Functionally, Kimmich does most of it alone. He is that good. Kai Havertz as the false 9 looks weird on a formation card and works in real life, because Havertz can carry, link, and press. He doesn't demand service. He connects the system. And the scoreline, 7-1 against Curaçao, 2-1 against Ivory Coast, 9 goals total. The attacking output is undeniable. Was the 7-1 a genuine statement, or was Curaçao just that bad? Because Ivory Coast, a side with actual technical quality, held Germany to a 1-goal margin, and they scored. They got through the press. Germany's group stage results, genuine transformation, or a soft draw making this team look better than it is. One or the other. Don't give me a bit of both. Pick a side. Drop it in the comments. Here's where we get to the actual problem. And it's structural, which means it doesn't show up in the final score. It shows up in the moments before a goal that coaches pause on their laptops at 2 in the morning. Germany under Nagelsmann run a press-forward system. The fullbacks, Henrichs, Mittelstadt, push extremely high when Germany are in the press phase. We're talking touchline to touchline width deep into the opponent's half. The idea is to overload the front press, force turnovers high, and then let Wirtz and Musiala operate in the space created. When it fires, Germany are devastating. That's where the 7-1 came from. When it doesn't fire, when an opponent plays through it with a quick vertical ball, a line-breaking pass, a third-man combination, what you expose is this: Antonio Rüdiger and Nico Schlotterbeck, the last 2 center backs, standing in a 4 versus 2. The fullbacks are 40 yards up the pitch. Kimmich is scrambling back from the press line, and there is open grass behind that defensive line that you could land a helicopter on. Rüdiger is 31 years old, still one of the best center backs in the world. Aggressive, commanding, leader of the line. But his recovery pace over the first 10 meters is not what it was at 27. Schlotterbeck is athletic and technically solid, but he is not a burner. When he's caught in a 1v1 against a player who can run behind him, that is not a favorable matchup for Germany. Here's the specific number that should be making German fans nervous. At Euro 2024, Germany conceded 8 goals across 5 matches. 8. In a tournament where they had home advantage, maximum crowd noise, and months of preparation. 8 goals. With Rüdiger leading the backline, the same backline leading it now. That number doesn't disappear because you beat Curaçao 7-1. The structural risk is still in the code, and this is where that uncomfortable decision starts to become obvious. Because we don't need to theorize about whether Germany's high line can be exploited. We have the evidence. We have it on full HD video, with 90,000 people watching, in Frankfurt, on German soil, Euro 2024 quarterfinal, Germany versus Spain. Nagelsmann's side are playing some of the best football they've played in years. The crowd is electric. Germany are at home, literally. And still the weight of the moment lands on the wrong side of the result. Spain, calmly and methodically play through the press. Quick vertical ball over Kimmich's line, ball in behind the fullbacks, Rüdiger scrambling to recover, and then Mikel Merino, a substitute off the bench in extra time, heads Spain into the semifinal. The same high line, the same press structure, the same exposed corridor. Spain found it, executed it, and Germany went home on their own soil. Now ask yourself, has Rüdiger gotten faster at 31? No. Has Schlotterbeck's recovery pace improved? No. Has Nagelsmann fundamentally changed the defensive structure for 2026? Also no. He's doubled down on the high line because it's the architecture that Musiala and Wirtz need to function. Compress the space and you kill the creative axis. That's a real trade-off. But the trade-off already cost Germany a major tournament. And here's the dangerous part. At this World Cup, 3 teams have exactly the profile to run Spain's blueprint again. France. Mbappe's straight-line pace behind the last defender is purpose-built for this. A ball over Rüdiger's shoulder at that angle, at that speed. That is the nightmare matchup. Gary Lineker described Mbappe's transition acceleration as something no defensive line in world football has found an answer for. He is not wrong. Brazil. Vinicius Jr. exploits high defensive lines better than almost anyone alive. His movement off the last man, his timing to stay onside and then accelerate into the gap. Vinicius against a Germany high line is the most dangerous individual matchup at this tournament that nobody's talking about. Argentina. Different profile, same problem. Di Maria's diagonal runs and Messi's through-ball vision operate at a different gear. Argentina don't need to outrun you. Messi just has to read the corridor 1 second before you close it. And, this might surprise you, even Japan. Japan's 3-4-2-1 transition press is specifically designed to exploit high defensive lines. They ran that exact system against Germany in 2022. They came back from a goal down. They won. The blueprint is already in the database. Japan have read this game before. So, name the team that exposes Germany in the knockouts. Not a vibe. A specific team. And why? Drop it below. I read every reply. Okay, here it is. The decision I've been building to since the start. Nagelsmann needs to drop the high line against France or Brazil. I know exactly what that costs. In a compact 4-4-2 mid-block, you forfeit the press. You immediately reduce the space Musiala and Wirtz need to operate in. You trade creativity for structure. You turn Germany's most exciting attack in a generation into something more like what Germany teams used to look like. Organized, difficult to break, and honestly a bit harder to watch. But here's the counterfactual. If Germany play their current structure against Mbappe or Vinicius in a knockout game, and the press misfires twice in 90 minutes, they will concede, and they will go home again. Roy Keane said before the tournament that Germany's attractive football is built on a foundation they haven't tested under real knockout pressure. That's not just punditry noise. That is the correct diagnostic. The best teams at major tournaments don't play their best football in the knockouts. They play football that doesn't collapse under maximum pressure. That's the standard. That's what it costs to win. A 4-4-2 mid-block against a pace-forward opponent is not a white flag. It's a tactical acknowledgement. Their weapon is pace in behind, and you are not going to fight that weapon with an open defensive structure. You close the space. You win on set pieces and transitions. Belichick didn't try to outscore the Rams in the Super Bowl. He suffocated them. Germany have the personnel to execute that. Rüdiger is elite in a compact, aggressive shape. He's at his best when the space is tight and the physical battle is direct. Kimmich reads second phases better than almost anyone in the game. Havertz can press the channels without needing the team to be on the front foot. Wirtz and Musiala can still create in a counter-attacking structure. They don't need 70% of the ball. They need space on the break, and a compact shape creates exactly that when you win it back in transition. The irony is that the decision Nagelsmann refuses to make is specifically the one that makes the most of the players he has. The problem is that he's built his reputation on the press. Changing the system at a World Cup, in the knockout rounds, requires publicly admitting the system has a flaw. That is a hard thing for any manager to do. And it's the call that could define his legacy either way. Here's my read. Germany reached the quarterfinals. Probably the semis, if the bracket falls kindly. But if they face France, Brazil, or Argentina before the final, with the current structure, no adjustments, they lose. The flaw is too well documented. The pace profiles on the other side are too dangerous. The proof is already on tape from Frankfurt, unless Nagelsmann makes the call. And right now, I don't think he does. I think he goes down with the press. I hope I'm wrong. Tell me, does Nagelsmann adapt in time? Or does Germany's tactical problem cost them in the knockouts exactly the way Euro 2024 went? And if you had to bet on the team that specifically exposes it, France, Brazil, Argentina, Japan, someone else, who is it? One team, one reason. Don't hedge. What do we cover next? 5 options. Japan are the World Cup's most dangerous team, nobody's watching. Is the best dark horse at this tournament already hiding in plain sight? The truth about Mbappe's World Cup record, the stats behind the most hyped player at the tournament, the real reason Vinicius Jr. can't win a World Cup. Is Brazil's best player actually the problem? Why France always underperform at World Cups? The same squad template, the same result every time? England's World Cup curse? Is 2026 finally different? Or is it more of the same most liked reply? That's the next video. I mean it. If this is the kind of breakdown you want as we hit the knockout stages of Germany, World Cup 2026, hit subscribe, turn the bell on. We're covering every major team at this World Cup. The analysis only gets sharper from here. Welcome to Futbol Feed. Talk soon.